Moving on now to University of Memphis head coach Justin Fuente. Tigers are 2-1 overall. They were in action this past Saturday against Middle Tennessee. Memphis won the game 36-17. Up next for Memphis will be this Saturday at Mississippi, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time start on FSN. And as we mentioned, Tank Jakes, the Memphis linebacker, was named the American Defensive Player of the Week. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the call today. If you would take a minute to tie up the game against Middle Tennessee, maybe a word or two about Tank's performance, and then what you expect to see as you make the short trip down to Ole Miss this Saturday, please.
Well, it's kind of the way our kids played last week. Wasn't a perfect performance by any means, but they played with great intensity and discipline, and we were able to find a way to win the ball game. Tank, obviously his stat line was pretty extraordinary. Interception, cross fumble, a couple sacks, a safety. He's really playing well for us. I think he's a very heady football player, and he's the first time he's really been a full-time player for us on defense, and he's making the most of his opportunity. We'll obviously need a great week of preparation from him and the rest of our crew as we head down to play Ole Miss.
We'll take questions for Coach Fuente. Please star 1 on your telephone to join the queue. The operator will introduce you.
And we'll take our first question from Dan Tortora with Dan Tortora Broadcast Media.
Hey, Coach. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I know you talked a little bit about your defense. I wanted to look at your quarterback and, what you've taken away in these first 3 games from Paxton and how he's played this game for Memphis, how he's kind of led the offense, and what you kind of have seen in him so far.
Well, I think he's much more comfortable out there than he probably was last year, just for a variety of reasons, but more comfortable in this role. He is a competitive kid. He does enjoy the competition, enjoy playing. And he's at times displayed some toughness. We've taken the challenge of kind of having an offense, kind of a no-name offense, a group of skilled kids that, there's not one single guy that is, gets the bulk of the carries or the catches. And I think as a group they've kind of embraced that, and I think that's helped Paxton. I just think, they've played better as a group collectively around him, which has helped him play a little bit better as well.
When you say that it's kind of, a no-name, no single guy that is that big weapon out there for him, and you as a coach, how do you like having a team on the offense that's like that? I mean, it's an interesting situation where you don't have that dominant running back or dominant wide receiver. So how do you kind of look at the environment of the team right now?
Well, we tried to sell them on, each one of those guys can play a role, can use their specific skill set to help us win football games. And I think they start to understand that. Some guys are more versatile than others. Some guys can only do a few things, but it's what we've got right now. And selling the kids on it is as important as anything. And I think they're starting to embrace that kind of identity. That first, the good part of it is more of them get to play. It's not just one guy out there. We get to play a bunch of kids out there, and they've embraced that, and so far it's worked all right.
Thanks, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take our next question from Rob Fisher with Sports 56 Memphis.
Coach, when you look at the first 3 games and each one individually, the magnitude of those games, opening day is always a big one. A game in the Rose Bowl against a highly ranked team, a game at home against a team that you had struggled with as a program in the past, and now a game with a team down the road that's in the top 10 this week and in the SEC. How do you feel like your team has been able to, stay in the moment and just look at each individual game through now what will be 4 weeks?
Well, we've done a good job of it so far. It's a really tough challenge. It's why there's so many ups and downs throughout the season for so many people across the country. It just truly is a strain to keep your focus week in and week out and reach that emotional peak in order to play well. Obviously, you kind of walked us through the first 3 games there, and, we handled that pretty well. This is another challenge for us. I mean, it's a fantastic football team with great football players that will highlight your flaws in a hurry if you're not on top of your game. So we'll certainly have to do a great job this week.
Is it something you, as a coach and your staff, remind the team that it hasn't, frankly, had ups and downs really over the last few years, to not get too high after wins, not get too low after losses, and that's what you need to do when you want to perform at the level you hope to perform at?
Yeah, that's the big thing for us, is to turn the focus inward and focus on why we got the results we got, because of the way we prepared, which led to our performance, which led to a victory. So, to answer your question, absolutely. I mean, we talk about it, and I don't mean just once. We talk about it all the time. Just continue to take it day by day and step by step, and eventually week by week, and in our preparation to play as well as we can.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
And do you have any other questions for Coach Fuente, please? Coach, we thank you for your time today. We do have one. Just chime in, Coach, if you just do one more, if you would.
Yep, no problem.
Thanks.
We'll take our next question from Brian Moss with TigerSportsReport.com.
Hey, Coach, I won't ask about Fuente because I have a good feeling on what you would say. but if you could talk about, who filled in for him, Hunter and Brady. How do you think, they have done in his absence?
Well, I think we've gotten solid play, not spectacular, but I'm proud of those guys. Their reps obviously just went up. Their number of reps in the game just skyrocketed when Martin went down, and they filled in there admirably. I've done a good job in the run game. We haven't quite gotten as much pressure on the passer as I'd like to in some of our stuff, but I think those guys have, it really brings it home that you really are one play away from being a full-time starter. And we've thrown those guys in the mix, and, fortunately they had played a little bit for us last year, so they fit in there pretty nicely.
Good deal. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Uh-huh.
And, Coach, now we'll thank you for your time today. We look forward to talking to you again next Monday.
All right. Thanks, y'all.